Back here on the Cover 3 podcast, live on CBS Sports Network from Big Ten Media Days in Las Vegas, Nevada. And we are honored to be joined by the head coach of the Penn State Nittany Lions. He is James Franklin. James, thank you so much. Once again, 2 years in a row, spending some time with the Cover 3 podcast. How's your day going?
Good. I appreciate it. You got great energy.
I'm just trying to match you. Listen, that coming from you,
good energy.
High on the energy power rankings among Big Ten.
I appreciate that. I'll take that. And where are you from? New York?
Raleigh, North Carolina.
I know. I'm just messing.
God, look at me, walked right into it. So as this has been a very exciting time for Penn State, right? You know, you get the success of last season. You get 2 college football playoff wins. You've got a really good group of guys, older guys, that all talk to each other and say, we want to get back. Does that make coaching easier when you've got that kind of veteran leadership setting the tone for the team?
I don't know if I would say anything about college football is easy specifically right now. But no, I think it helps, right? Like good players help. You know, experienced good players really help. I think they're starting to become some momentum, right? Drew decided to come back. Nick Singleton comes back. Katron Allen comes back, and it starts to become some momentum. And I think a lot of them said, look, we didn't come to Penn State to not win a national championship. We didn't come to Penn State to leave as a 4th or 5th round draft choice. You know, I got a chance to come back and win at the highest level and improve my draft stock and get a degree or maybe a master's degree. You know, let's do this. So they're really got some momentum around that. And I think, as you guys know, you've seen a ton of teams that make the playoffs, have some success, come up a little bit short, and they're able to capitalize on that the next year. We got a ton of guys now on the staff and as players that have had that experience and understand what it's like. I don't have to explain now when they call it a bowl game, and it's not a bowl game. And they're like, are we going to Disneyland? There's no Disneyland. There's none of that. It's an away game with really high implications.
Second year under Andy as your OC, what are some things that maybe you couldn't fully get done in year 1 that you think there are areas for growth in year 2 under his system?
So a couple things. Number one, that's something you didn't hear people talk about a lot. Like last year, we played 16 games, win 2 games in the playoffs. Offensive coordinator was new, defense coordinator was new, special teams coordinator was new. That's another thing I think that plays a major factor. Offensive coordinator's back, special teams coordinator's back, and then
Jim Knowles.
And then Jim Knowles, right? So what I would say to you is probably the biggest thing is we're just so much further ahead and so much more aggressive in what we did during spring ball installs. You know, it's obviously you got to build it from the ground up, but we're able to get to trigonometry so much faster, right? Same thing now with the summer OTAs, you know, that you're able to do so much further along. Day 1 install a training camp. So that helps our offense, but it also helps our defense because Jim's different than a lot of defense coordinators I've been around. We structure it whereas the head coach, you're only allowed to do this on day 1. You're only allowed to do this on day 2. So there's no surprises. You got a chance to build and teach against base looks, right? Well, most defense coordinators don't want motion on day 1. Mm-hmm. That's a big part of what we do on offense. Andy wants to do it. Jim's a defensive coordinator that he wants it. It makes it harder on the defense, but he wants those things. So we're able to do that during spring ball. We're able to do that this summer. And the reality is it makes everybody better. You know, we're challenging each other. We're growing. That's one of the things that's great about coming to a place like Penn State, the type of guys and the type of coordinators you're going to compete against every day.
With Jim coming in, because like you said, last year you had a new defensive coordinator. You've had to replace defensive coordinators the last few seasons. Schematically, have there been any kind of changes that he's been bringing in, or is this still going to be basically the Penn State defense we've been seeing that's been so phenomenal these last few years?
Yeah, so again, I'm proud, right? I've had 4 defensive coordinators. All of them have been top 10, have had top 10 defenses, and that's a credit to them. But it's also, I think, a credit to the culture and how we do things. There's a ton of offensive head coaches that they stink on defense every year. Well, there's a part of that belongs to the program and how you operate and how you do things. So I think that made it attractive, you know, to Jim as well. But the other thing is we're not a rebuild, right? So like that was a big part of our conversations early on is Jim, like, first of all, I'm not bringing you in if you run a 3-down defense and are totally different than what we've been built for the last 12 years. And obviously, we wouldn't have been talking anyway, right?
Yeah,
There's a lot of similarities with what we did. So a lot of the conversation is what can stay the same, what needs to change, what is ultimately in Penn State's best interest this year, not two years from now, not 3 years from now. And that's been good. The other thing is we retain the entire defensive staff. I believe in those guys. I'm loyal to those guys. I don't understand these head coaches that go out and hire defensive coordinator and say you can hire whoever you want. Like, they're my guys.
Yeah.
You know, the good thing in college football, though, now is with the staff sizes is Jim was able to bring an analyst from Ohio State. He was able to bring in an analyst that used to work with him at Oklahoma State. So he still gets some of his guys in the room, but I'm loyal to guys that have been with me. So it's been really good, and Jim's been phenomenal. He's been a head coach before. He's been a coordinator at multiple places. Every time he's done this, he's gotten better at it. So that helps too.
Your hit rate on 4 and 5 stars that y'all sign, especially on defense, is phenomenal. I'll give you a chance to brag and let the audience at home know, like, who's the next crop of Penn State defenders they should be knowing about?
Well, but here's the other thing I'm going to say. It's also the 3-star guys.
Sure.
You look at the number of guys that we've had drafted, and if you take the average of the star rankings, and I look at this as a positive, ours are lower than some of the people that we're competing with. And those guys are still turning out to be big-time players. I think that's true development. If you get a 5-star and he goes to the NFL, well, yeah, you should have, right? You know, like
Right.
that's what the whole business is based on. So I'm excited about those guys. There's some guys that no one's talking about. Zariah Fisher. Zariah was going to play a big role for us last year, had a season-ending injury, missed the season. No one's talking about him. There's a lot of excitement in our building about Zariah being on the opposite side of Deny, right? We got a heck of a battle going on at the opposite corner. AC, Aldavian Collins, as well as Elliott Washington, Zion Tracy, who played the nickel. He'll be in the competition for both spots. Day Lane at safety, as well as King Mack. So there's going to be
name.
Exactly. There's going to be some really good competitions. Same thing at defensive tackle across from Zane Durant. Zane Durant's a guy that I don't think enough people are talking about. So we're excited about. But there's a bunch of those guys that we're going to need. Game 5 of the season that people are saying, well, we're talking about this guy now. No one was talking about him before season.
It's so funny because there is a very notable individual who talked a lot about Zariah Fisher. It was your quarterback, Drew Allar. When we asked him here, we said, when you're going up against defense in spring ball, we know Abdul's gone, and he was an incredible talent.
Yep.
And he immediately said, playing opposite of Deny, he is going to have a great year, worked so hard to get himself back healthy. So what about that quarterback? What have you seen from Drew Allar in terms of his development? Because just before you walked in here, we did our quarterback power rankings. Great content for media days. Yeah. And he was our consensus. 4 ballots, 4 number 1 votes for the best quarterback in the Big Ten. He's going to carry a lot of Penn State's expectations are going to be tied to him. So what have you seen him do in his development going into 2025?
Well, I think the biggest thing is this, right? He's kind of a throwback old school recruit. When we first started recruiting, he was a 3-star guy. And then all of a sudden he climbs and he climbs and he climbs. And depending on which service, some people had him as the number 1 quarterback in the country coming out of high school. But he kind of earned it the old school way, which doesn't happen a whole lot anymore, right? Then he comes to Penn State. He's a backup behind an NFL quarterback, gets some time as a true freshman, has a really good sophomore year, takes another step junior. He's gotten better every year, all the way back to high school. He's gotten better every single year and significantly better. I think he's going to take another big step this year. All of it. He's 6'5". He's now 235 pounds. He was 245. His mobility, he showed people he can make plays with his feet last year. He can make every throw on the field. More comfortable and confident in his own skin as a leader, holding himself accountable, having tough conversations with teammates, all of that. He's just gotten better in every area his entire career. The other thing is, there's been some criticism at times, right? Well, we have not had that receiver that everybody is scared about. I see stuff on TV. You guys see the same thing, and a quarterback throws the ball up in double coverage, and a receiver goes up and snatches it. in double coverage, and they're like, what a throw, and it was an awful throw, right? But the receiver made a hell of a play for him. We had Tyler Warren doing those things, and I love our receivers, but we weren't getting that consistently from a receiver last year. So, we went out and were aggressive, and we got some guys that have proven production, and I think that will help, and we have some young guys that we're excited about that are being developed. But I think some of that criticism for Drew, as for all of us, is fair, and some of it I think is really unwarranted. And I think he's going to take a significant step this year, and I'm proud of him. I think he's the best in the country.
The expectations going into this season, like we've discussed it, you've got what we consider the best quarterback in the Big Ten. You've got a ton of returning talent. In the unofficial poll, the preseason poll, you guys are picked to finish first. You got to the Final Four last year in the semis. How are you approaching it with those expectations? Are you just like staring them straight and going tackle them head on? Or are you trying to kind of, keep your team humble a little bit heading into the season?
Well, I think it's got to be a little bit of both, right? I think first of all, you embrace them, right? There's been a ton of people that have worked really hard to get us in this position, and we appreciate and respect that people see us that way. Great. But let's also be honest. Nobody gives a shit about preseason rankings, right? Mm-hmm. All that matters is what's going to happen at the end of the season and where are you at. So I think it's a little bit of both. The other thing I would say is this. There may be more conversations going on nationally, but in terms of the Penn State football building, in terms of our community, the expectations are no different than they always are. Last year, we finished maybe a drive away from playing for the national championship last year, and people are pissed. Mm-hmm. We had a season that 99% of the programs in the country would die to have. The expectations always a national championship at Penn State. There's really high expectations and standards. So there's more conversation going on nationally, but it really doesn't feel any different for us because these are always the expectations at a place like Penn State.
Well, you'll love to hear that your starting center, Nick Dawkins, sat here and said, that ain't this year. That was last year. So it sounds like they've got the right mentality to be able
Nick's
to
the man. You guys got a chance to, he's
fantastic.
Somebody said to me the other day, you say he's going to be governor of Pennsylvania. I say he's going to be president of the United States. I said, well, you usually got to be governor before president, right? Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. Let's not go there. Let's not go there.
James, thank you so much for spending some time with us here on the Cover 3 podcast. And coming up on the other side, we continue with our coverage of Big Ten Media Days and more next.